you have Ms. Fagunwa Ayodele standing before you for another episode of online teaching. Last time when we met on this platform, we discussed a particular topic titled letter writing. The types of letter were examined because I listed them out for you. Then we unanimously studied one of the types of letter, which is formal letter. Then let me quickly revise what I taught you then. Letters are written messages sent to individuals or different organizations. Letters can be written between two personalities, between two different organizations, between relations, and so on and so forth. I listed out the types of letter as formal letter, informal letter, and semi-formal. We studied collectively the first one on the list, which is formal letter. I defined formal letter to you as official or business letter, which is always written with strict language because it attracts not the use of contractions, the use of pet name and the likes. So it goes, I went further to take you all the parameters of formal letter: the writer's address, the date, the recipient or the receiver's address, the body of the letter, and the complementary clause. How each should be written was taught during our previous lesson. But today, before I introduce my fresh lesson to you, I must ensure that you have your writing materials ready before you. Everybody available here on this platform should place his or her books and pen ready for your teacher to take you, so that the moment I begin to explain and write for you on the board, you have nothing to prevent you other than to copy the chalkboard note. Now, we are to start from the definition of informal letter, because today, once we have treated the first on the list among the types, the second should be reckoned with. Now we are taking informal letter. I've already written it for you. It is a subset of letter writing. So once it is one of the major divisions of letter writing, we are considering informal letter. But before I write for you on the chalkboard, everybody sit right and face me. Don't look elsewhere. Don't be distracted with the side distraction. Concentrate on what your teacher has in stock for you. An informal letter is defined as a personal letter. It is written between two close friends. It is written between acquaintances. It is written between close relatives or relations. Letter writing, this type of letter, which is informal, as the name connotes, it is informal. So it allows the use of jokes, the use of slangs, the use of proverbs, the use of idioms, and the use of pet names like Abijay, like Nikki, and so on and so forth. It equally allows the use of contractions, that is the shortened form of words. You can write it without you being penalized. Then we are to study together the types of, the features of informal letter. Does it assume the same feature like that of formal we treated last time when we met? No. There is a little difference between the two. We have the writer's address as the same under formal, but mind you, under informal letter writing, there is no recipient address, because we know that you are writing to who is very, very close to you. So the structure of every letter solely rests on who is writing and to whom the letter is written or will be sent. But before I start to write for you on the chalkboard, please, Bola, keep quiet. Don't distract my class. Now, The features of letter writing will be extracted for you now. This is the very format we are to follow as I explain them one by each. The format, we assume this list. We have one on our list. We have the writer's address, the date, the body of the letter, the salutation, the body of the letter, and the complementary clause. Okay, the complementary clause. Before I begin to explain each of these letters, each of these parameters or feature, I will first rub the board for you so that this same place can contain what I intend to explain. Now I rub. Before I write how the writer's address will be written for you on the board, I cannot but guide you on how it should be written orally before we reckon with what is written for you on the board. The writer's address is the address that comes from who has written the letter. Your home address can be used as your writer's address. Your church can be used as the address. Your mosque address can be used as your own address. Your home house or home address can be used. But I, as a teacher of Goodwill, I would like to stick to the address of the school. But mind you, as earlier said, it can be replaced with yours. If you are living with your uncle, if you are not living with your parents, it's not mandatory you use the address of your parents. So your uncle's home address can be used as alternative or remedy to the one I'm to use now. So it is highly replacive. You can replace yours with mine. Another person can replace his with yours as well. So the home you come from or you identified with, your residence, should be the writer's address. Bolu, keep quiet. Don't disturb my class. the writer's address has been used because I told you before I began to write for you but that I will stick to the school's address, and this is written in block form. It is written in block form. Why the space here? You are free to move a bit here for what you are about to write, for the space provided here to contain what you are about to write. Instead of you to shift the address very close to this place and you start from here and eventually you realize that the space here cannot contain what you intend to write. So you bringing school beneath or managing the little space will not allow the examiner to give you your total mark you deserve. So if you leave a space here, it is not a crime. And if you exhaust your space, you write close to this margin, it is not a crime as well. You will not be penalized for that. So after writing the name of the school, you have to write the PO box or the PMB, the address. So now you write the name of the town or the area where the school is situated. It's already written for you here. Now, what next do we do? The date. The date the letter is written should be written beneath the writer's address here, and it is usually written in full form. You must not write in contracted form. You cannot write as if you are preparing file form. If you write like this, 2/2/2020, you are wrong. The examiner will surely count it against you. Or if you put mark like this, we see this as nothing but a mathematical sign. The examiner will help you to deduct this 2 from this 2 and this 2 from the 2020. So it will give us the total number we realize will be a mathematical an equation in mathematics. But you must not write like this as well. 2/2/2020. This is nothing but a file number. So let me wrap these 2 examples that are wrong. Then I will help you to put the right one there. This is how the ideal date under a letter writing should be put. We have 2nd April, or you can put May, you can put June, you can put December, depending on the very month you are writing. Then you demarcate it with comma before you put your year 2020. But mind you, if you are to consider the month before the day of the week, then this postposition of this day will now be eliminated. Then we have April 2/2020. You are free to use either, but let me drop one to prevent unnecessary confusion. Now we are done with the writer's address. We move on to the next thing we have. Let me write for you and write. Are you getting it at all? Yes. Please, if you are not, don't be shy to ask me to take it all over, because I don't want anybody to lag behind. I intend to carry all of you along so that you can all get it right. After all, you have the same access to this platform, so nobody is restricting you. If you're not getting it right, call me. Then I take it all over for proper mastery on your own part. We move on to the third feature we have as the salutation. How is salutation written? Is there any essence for salutation before we prepare our letter? Yes, there is need for it. A salutation is usually written in phrase form. It is simply put as "Dear Sir," "Dear Ma." But mind you, it must be cognizant or conversant of the personality of whom you are actually writing to. If that person, the receiver of your letter, assumes the higher position within the government, you must not just say "Dear Sir," because it's not an average human being. So you have to salute acknowledge or give kudos to the very office he occupies. Then you can write Your Excellency, sir. So you can write Dear Sir. Or if the person is a woman, is a mother or girl or lady, you can simply put dear, this same dear, and ma, replace the sir with ma. Or if you want to make it extra or ordinarily official, you still write madam, but the D must be swallowed by this apostrophe. So you write like this, then you put, let me rub it for you. You can as well write Dear Excellency, or Your Excellency, sir, Your Excellency, sir, and you put a comma. If the person is an average human being, you put your dear, as I've already guided you, dear sir or ma, dear sir or ma. And if you are writing to a friend of yours, you rub all this, don't need all this. Don't mistake another person's personality for someone else. You can write Dear Bola. This Bola can be replaced with another birth name or local name. It can be Dear Tolu, it can be Dear Tunji, it can be Dear Shayo. You can as well, if you wish, to replace this same name, this local name, with a foreign English name. You can write Dear Frederick. Let me clean Bola and replace Bola with another foreign English name for you. You write Dear Frederick. You write Dear Janet. You write Dear Janet. You can write Dear David, and so on and so forth. Now the body of the letter. Shayo, please stand up and raise up your hand. Once you stop my class again, I will make sure I first deal with you myself before I hand you over to one of the security men available for us at the window side. The body of the letter. In this case, you can see that I've omitted some steps. Unlike that of formal letter writing, we record with the receiver's address. There is no receiver address here, as it is obvious to you too. Now we don't have any title or heading, since you are writing to who is very close to you. Now you have to perambulate a bit. That is, the introduction of your letter must be majorly to acts of the welfare of whom you are writing to. Unlike that of formal letter writing, you have to go straight to the point. But before you begin to express yourself in transitional paragraphs, you must first write the title of the letter neatly, either in capital 1, not to be underlined, or in small letters to be ruled twice. But here, so that unlike that of formal letter writing, the title of the letter must be brief enough to reveal the content of the message your letter retains. So it's like a prophet prophesying what your reader will come across. But here we don't have any title to reveal what you are about to come across. But your introductory aspect must be captivating enough to compel your reader to read through the lines, because if the first part, the first paragraph is watery, your reader's enthusiasm will be what? Will be exhausted, and he or she might close the book and not be willing to read again. But if the introductory part, as said earlier by me, is highly captivating or is compellingly attractive, nobody will advise your reader before he reads through the lines and flip through the pages of your letter. Now, the body of the letter constitutes the major aspect of every letter writing, because it is here we express ourselves, and the ideologies to be explained must not be put in a single paragraph. A simple paragraph must express just a point. But mind you, if the point you are to raise is one, you are still free as well to go further, to buttress that your point with supporting details, meaning that a paragraph is sustained with a topic sentence with much developmental sentences, majorly employed to break down the pregnated meaning which the topic sentence clusters or harbors. Now, if the body of the letter will be straight here, will be written in different divisions. Now, if you start one from here and you begin to write blah 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 like this, the second one you are to write must be straight beneath the first you have opened. If this is your first opening, the second one must be straight beneath. It must not be, if I rub here and you come here to open another paragraph, and when you are through with that point, you still come here to open another paragraph. Your examiner will not hesitate to count it against you, because it will help you to draw the line in zigzag manner like this. Zigzag. So your paragraph must be straight like this. If you are starting the first one, the second should be here, the third should be here, and other subsequent ones must follow suit. Now the body of the letter under informal letter, since I've said that it is informal, so you are free to use contraction like can't instead of cannot, like won't instead of will not, and like how instead of I will or I shall, and so on and so forth. Here, under the body of the letter, when you are through with your body, the concluding aspect, the last paragraph of that same letter must rest on the altar of brevity. It will be a summative exercise because you have to remind your reader of what he or she has read from the beginning to that your concluding part, so that when he closes your book and goes elsewhere, he will not forget what you have discussed, because the summative part will be like a memory fast he or she should be retained with. Now we have the complementary clause. Let me rub the board for you to write how a complementary clause should be written. The complementary clause, this is usually written close to the margin on our right hand here beneath the letter. But mind you, you must not leave a space between the last line of yours under the concluding parts, under the last paragraph. It must be straight below the last line. Then it should be written like this: yours ever. It can be yours ever. This ever can be replaced with another thing. It can be your loving son, your loving son. Now we are on complementary clause, and I must remind you that when you are to conclude your letter, your complementary clause should be written close to the margin there, beneath the letter, on our last few lines here. You must not leave a space between the last line of yours under the last paragraph you developed before you write this. Then it can be written as yours ever. It can be your loving son. It can be yours sincerely. And so on and so forth. You can use yours affectionately. You can use yours Bola, etc. But mind you, when you are using your birth name, if you are replacing this ever with Bola or with Tolu, with David, you have to put full stop. When you write your name, just ever, you have Bolu. Or your loving son, you put David. After your name, you have to put a full stop. Or yours ever, then you put Janet. And so on and so forth. Thank you for listening to me from the beginning of this class. We have a clause now, so that when else we meet for another episode, we introduce another fresh topic to you. Good day, bye bye.